This lesson is to provide you with an overview of the Java graphics classes and to show you a bit about the Java API documentation. You already know a little about the graphics object that's passed to the paint method. Sun has some very handy documentation that you can use as a reference when you're writing graphics programs. You can download and install this documentation on your system, or you can go to it on the internet. This website provides a direct link to the Sun documentation. Now, there's a lot of documentation here. What happened was that some fundamental changes were made to the Java language a few years back, and they referred to the result of these changes as sort of a second-generation Java and called it Java 2. Now, Java version 1.2 is actually the first version of Java that was called Java 2. But that was a while back. You can just consider everything to be Java 2 now. There's plenty of documentation here. You can find links to all sorts of internal language information, including some online tutorials. But what we're after right now is the API reference section. I find this to be the most useful section in the documentation. It's an alphabetical listing of all of the Java classes and templates, and a complete description of each one. And as you can see, there are lots of them. The Java API is very large. Here's the graphics class. Clicking on its name brings up its description. As you can see, there's lots of information. These are the method calls that are used to set internal values and draw things. And here's the fillRect method that's used in the previous lesson to fill the rectangular area. As you can see, there are some other methods to fill other shapes and do other things. We'll be getting to those in some detail in later lessons. If you click on the name of a method, you get a more detailed description of how it works and how to use it. By the way, this documentation is accurate because it's automatically generated from the source code. The programmer includes comments in a specific format that can be read by the utility named JavaDoc, which produces these HTML files. But look over here in the list of classes. There's a more advanced form of the graphics class. The Graphics2D class is actually an extension of the graphics class. That means that this class has everything the graphics class has and has added some stuff of its own. And the stuff it's added is really neat. As you can see, there's quite a bit of explaining that takes place. We're going to be exploring all of this, and we're going to be exploring the advanced graphic methods that appear here also. Here are a couple of methods that can be used to scale and rotate graphics objects in the window. This, in my opinion, is the centerpiece of the Graphics2D class. It can use embedded affine transforms to do just about anything to a graphics display. I'll be explaining how these things work and how to use them in some upcoming lessons. It's a bit weird at first, but once you see how they work, you can do amazing things with them. Now, let's take another look at the inheritance. As I mentioned earlier, I lied to you. Well, it wasn't really a lie, I just didn't tell you the whole truth. You see, the object that's passed to the paint method is really a Graphics2D object in a graphic object's clothing. It's that polymorphism thing with object-oriented programming. Since Graphics2D is an extension of graphics, a Graphics2D object can be treated exactly as if it were a graphics object. In an upcoming lesson, I'll show you how to make the Graphics2D object show its true self inside the paint method, and then we'll do some fancy stuff. Okay, now you know where you can look stuff up when you need it. In the next lesson, I'm going to talk about the coordinate system and placing objects.